These staggering numbers in front of you are from the Holocaust from World War II, the state-sponsored systematic destruction of European Jews and other quote-unquote undesirable minorities by Germany and its allies. World War II was a direct result of the policies of Nazi Germany and its companions. This was the work of Adolf Hitler and other Nazi leaders and resulted in the deadliest conflict in human history. But how could something this vile happen not so long ago? Germany lost World War I, also known ironically as the War to End All Wars, in November 1918. Many nationalistic Germans, such as veterans like Hitler, refused to believe that the loss was the reality of the situation. Germany was forced to accept the terms of the Treaty of Versailles at the war's close. The Treaty of Versailles severely restricted the influence of Germany's military, politics, and economy. Germany was forced to surrender all of its overseas colonies, 10% of its pre-war territory in Europe, accept responsibility for the war, and pay reparations for it, all due to the Treaty of Versailles. Germany was required to pay back an amount equivalent to 32 billion US dollars to the Allies. All of these policies would result in a growing German hatred for the harsh requirements of the treaty and the countries that created them. Adolf Hitler rose to power because of the financial hardships of the time, denial of the World War I loss among Germans, and the Hitler family's influence. By September 1923, the National World War II Museum recognizes that 4 billion German marks were equivalent to $1 American dollar. Germans needed a wheelbarrow to carry enough paper money so they could purchase a loaf of bread. Now, 2 months later, Adolf Hitler and some of his co-conspirators were arrested for trying to violently overthrow the current German government at something called the Beer Hall Putsch. A group of supporters the Nazi Party could always count on was the nationalistic Germans. Many of these supporters were veterans, disgusted with the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles. They wanted to return Germany to its former glory, the power it once was. This demographic was so loyal that many of these men were in the SA, also known as the Stormtroopers, the official paramilitary wing of the Nazi Party. The SA were the enforcers of the Nazi Party, using violent methods to spread Nazi views. This included murdering and torturing unwanted minorities. The SA was based out of Munich, the mecca of German nationalism. According to the National World War II Museum, the SA had 15,000 members in 1923. They were the ones trying to overthrow the regional government in the Beer Hall Putsch. Fast forward to April 1934, and the SA had 4 million men, according to the Holocaust Encyclopedia. As the years of the regime go on, it becomes evident that Hitler's discriminatory policies have multiple motivations behind them. It was almost as if Hitler's family life had an impact on his future. Well, this is the truth. It is a well-known fact that Hitler's childhood home was a dysfunctional one. Hitler's father was rarely present, and when he was abusive. Paula Hitler, Hitler's younger sister, revealed that Adolf was beaten ferociously by his father, which led to Hitler's mother covering Adolf, and she would absorb leg kicks and punches. Paula Hitler also revealed that Adolf would punch her. Paula Hitler made no effort to try to correct Adolf Hitler when he was in power, and for years historians incorrectly illustrated her as an innocent bystander to the regime. However, she was engaged to Dr. Erwin Jikalis, an Austrian doctor who was in charge of a euthanasia project for the Nazis. He is said to have gassed 4,000 people during the war, per The Guardian. Not long after Hitler's appointment, a fire broke out in the Reichstag. A Dutch communist declared the crime as his to authorities, and Hitler used this event as an excuse to suspend constitutional rights in Germany by declaring an emergency decree. He declared this a sign of a soon-to-come communist uprising. These rights would not return to German citizens under Nazi rule. This was the event that really got Hitler's foot in the door, and he would only continue to open it even more. This is also consistent with Hitler's use of scapegoats, and in this particular instance, he was using scapegoats to blame the communists for all of the troubles in Germany. Political opponents were being shipped off to concentration camps due to the Reichstag fire decree. 3 weeks later, the Enabling Act was passed in the German parliament. This act allowed Hitler to create new laws without the Reichstag voting on them. It also freed these laws from interference from the president. A quarter later, every party, labor union, and organization that was anti-Nazi was gone. Around the world, countries were recovering from the dark economic times not so long ago. Hitler took credit for this, making the Third Reich even more popular. It was nearly impossible for Germans to be against Hitler and the Nazi Party, as a complex propaganda scheme credited Hitler and his policies for Germany's economic rebound, and if you were not convinced enough by that, then you would be shipped off to a labor camp. So, to recap the film, Hitler rose to power in Germany due to the economic woes of the time, desires from nationalist Germans to bring Germany back to its former glory, and because of his desire to be feared. The Nazi promises of strengthening Germany's economy sounded too good for Germans to pass up, especially as time went on and Germany's economy deteriorated further. Long-standing nationalist feelings also helped Hitler gain control of Germany. His abusive upbringing also fueled the desire to be an authoritative figure. So what? What does all this mean? Well, with prominent world leaders, society needs to be extremely attentive to a leader's true motivations. History.com recognizes that the phrase Reichstag fire has become a strong metaphor in present-day politics, used to describe a politician or government using a tragedy to manufacture fear and gain more political support. An example of this is the United States invasion of Iraq in 2003. It was justified by politicians who falsely pushed the narrative that Iraq was housing weapons of mass destruction and terrorists. This was a point that hit a lot of Americans in their hearts, as it was not so long after 9/11. President George Bush's Secretary of State, Colin Powell, knowingly fabricated information regarding Iraq's non-existent weapons of mass destruction program. Iraq was occupied because they looked different than Americans. If this sounds familiar, that's because it is.